Welcome to the Kristen Harper here. Welcome to the Nesian Network. Money Talks with India Beckman-Flay. Is it Beckman-Flay or Beckman-Flay? How do you want me to say it?
Either way, mate, whatever floats your boat.
It just sounds so aristocratic. It's quite a cool name. Anyway, hey, this is a session where we are talking around our relationship with money, mindset with money. And in this session, India and I are going to be talking about confusion around tax. And when I say confusion around tax, again, this is not for everybody, but this is something that I've experienced as well. And getting your head around what you should be paying and what you shouldn't be paying. India, what are the? I guess I'll put that question to you. What are the biggest things that you're seeing around tax, especially as Māori and Pacifica? What are either the pitfalls or what are the common themes that you're hearing and seeing?
Well, good question, Kristen, and it's definitely one of those conversations that's, it's a very uncomfortable conversation. A lot of people don't really want to have them, and that's fine. It's very personal, but when you run a business, you have more than just yourself to be accountable for. And so it's great to be able to work with a lot of Māori Pacifica businesses that, feel comfortable to be vulnerable in that space. And I was saying, I was talking to someone recently and I was saying about how it's a big thing, like to step up and say, hey, I need some help around this, with my finances. And starting with your business finances, it's a scary, uncomfortable conversation. You're very vulnerable in that space. And so, big ups to you, Kristen, for, even engaging with me and working with me for yourself, your business, because it's not comfortable. Like it's that thing. It's
that was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable in a way, whereas I just felt stupid because I was like, I should have done this right the first time. I felt like I should have known more. And I thought, especially at my age, I was just like, I should sort of I should know better. So man, you're absolutely right. There is that real stigma, that uncomfortableness around it. And man, I'm pretty bloody confident, in life in general. But when we started talking about this, I just felt like I felt uncomfortable. So, and, we were even talking about tax yesterday around things that should have been paid or shouldn't have been, and what my last accountant should have done. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah. And, I think it's one of those things that if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we don't know, right? And when it comes to tax, like we do, especially in business, we 100% rely on an advisor to tell us what we need to do, because we don't know that stuff. And let's be honest, the tax system is not an easy, sort of system to navigate. And so, you do put the money in for a very valid reason. They're experts. There's people that understand this stuff, that know how to do it, that need to consider a lot of other things that, might seem so simple and basic up front, but actually there's a lot more complexity to it. And so, and that's why you pay the money you do for an accountant or bookkeeper or whatnot. But I think making the first step is the hardest thing. And so to be able to say, hey, here's, my personal life, like right here in front of you, because you do have to, it's related. Your business and your personal finances are 100% related. And so how do you, open up to do that, and actually just making that first step and having that cordial or having that conversation with the right person as well is going to do so much for you. And again, like I said, Kristen, big ups to you for doing that. And, I kind of consider the analogy of learning te reo Māori, being Māori and learning te reo Māori. When you feel like you should know it, it feels a bit uncomfortable. It feels like you feel inadequate. You should know this already. That's your culture. And so I think that's a good sort of analogy to put it, especially around finances. We've lived with this thing for all of our life, yet we still don't know how to manage it properly. And
there's always been the money, there's always been that tax, but it's stuff that's sort of taken care of itself, and I've never had to worry about that. And I think like most of us who have probably been employed most of their lives, and then you're sort of going into a business, and then there's that whole I've got to learn all of this and I've got to learn to manage all this, because I've really had all that managed for me until I started my first business. And when I started my first business, all this stuff started coming up, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't do that, and I didn't do this, and you know, it was just and then I left it to the last, you know, the very last sort of moment I should have. I just avoided it, and then I sort of ended up in the shit a wee bit. And I think that's what a lot of people will do, especially if you've been conditioned to have it taken care of. So it does take a wee bit. It does take a wee bit to get your head around.
Yeah,
and they say the entrepreneur life is just so glamorous, but you know,
absolutely not. Whoever said that was a liar.
Oh no, but those guys on the internet said it's real easy.
Oh, bro, like to be honest, to go on that path of entrepreneurship, you must be absolutely you're loose, like your screws are loose, because it's definitely not a glamorous life. But man, how awesome is it? How good is that feeling of building something, growing something, and nurturing that? Do you know what I mean? Mate. And so, you know, my business is my baby.
Yeah.
So what I feed it, you know, is crucial. And so am I feeding it love and attention and time? And am I creating boundaries? Am I, you know, setting up processes and systems that are going to help sustain, you know, things long term? You know, all that sort of thing. And you got to nurture it. You got to, you know, you don't really know what you're going to do when you start it, but you kind of get out there. And I think that's a big trouble that we have getting out there in business. If you consider that a large percentage of enterprise in New Zealand is made up of the SME sector. So like still 97% potentially, but you know, and around 70% of that 97% are all sole traders. And so these people, how are you ever going to know? Like, you know, so.
And it's happened. I think I sent you a list you sent me a list a wee while ago of just little things that I needed to get done around, and that made it so much easier, is actually having a bit of a system going, put that account there, put the GST and the tax and that sort of it, have a savings account, do that. And it's just all those little things I've gone, oh, okay, that sort of makes sense, but I didn't really do that in the start. And even, you know, when I was going to do my car purchase recently, rather than pay off a wee bit of debt, I was going to put a bit more money into the car, and you're like, no, you need to do this. And I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense to put that money there and do that there. And it's just like, I didn't think about that, because it's just, you just don't know what you don't know. So I think, again, that advice around how you do your tax and just having those little systems that you can do, put it aside, put the money aside. It just frees up. I felt for me, it just really freed up my mind, and it freed up my capacity to focus on growth stuff rather than where's the money going, where's the money. Because I feel in the past, when I've been focused more on that, it's really hard to grow when your sort of mind's on that. And now
what it's doing is it's telling you the reality of the situation is actually, we don't have much money. We want to be here, but we're not. And so what you're doing is you're sort of, you know, sitting in that space of the unknown, the fear, the like, oh, I don't know if I can pay my staff next week, that kind of a situation. So that's the best thing you can do, is outsource that particular function, because it means like, honestly, your time is so precious and valuable. If you weren't trained to do that stuff, like your finances or whatnot, don't do it. Like your time is more valuable doing what you went out to start your business to do. And you know,
it's the conversation I've had, you know, even with people and in sales. If you don't have the time to do that, focus on what you're good at, focus on what you're passionate about, and get people in to do that. Get people that are bloody good at that. And
Māori and Pacifica are very good at making money. You know, we know how to hustle, you know. But the problem is where does that money flow when we bring it in? So we can make the money, but where does it land?
Where does it land? Where do we structure it? And then how do we keep it? How do we grow it? How do we make more?
Yeah. And you know, like the tax system is just one of those beasts that, you know, you don't really have the time to sort of get into too much. So
it is what it is. Everybody else has a tax system. Get the people that know shit to bloody do shit for you. And as we come to the end, you just froze up, but that's okay. Hey, on that note, India, thank you. Great conversation. And we'll speak to you in the next one.
Thank you.
See ya.